Hello, and a very good evening to you. I'm Jeb.
I'm Joe Seldom.
And you're watching The Penny's Mighty.
Running away with the story.
Before the facts can catch us up.
Here is the news in brief.
Fuel prices rise, road hauliers become increasingly loathsome.
France vetoes UN moves to expel France from the UN.
US in crisis as pie shortage enters second hour.
Smoking cures ham, claims confused scientist.
More on those stories later.
And coming up on the show, we'll be talking to a bearded child.
Looking forward to that. But first, fancy a tender frontage or a good hard spunting? How about a vigorous rum fudge?
Yes, it seems to be ever more the case that amusing sexual practices are becoming acceptable in polite society. But are we entering a new era of sexual freedom? Or do perverts simply lack the decency to keep their filthy habits behind closed doors?
Of course, there was a time when going round the world meant 60 quid and a King's Cross troll, but these days it's entirely reasonable to ask my long-term partner and colleague to accommodate me, bum basket and all. Is this a sign of the times or just a last-ditch attempt to save a failing relationship?
Tonight, we take a look at sex.
Sniff the issues.
Taste the outcome.
Here's Angela Badsuit with a pubic voice.
Public.
I know.
Excuse me, is sex good or bad?
Porn!
Excuse me, fat lady, excuse me, is sex good or bad?
Fuck off!
Excuse me, is sex good or is sex bad?
Well, I like trains.
You're a bit weird. Excuse me, yes, excuse me. Oh.
Some interesting perspectives there. Now, don't forget, later on in the programme, we'll be talking to a bearded child. But first, crusty muff, cheesy bonnet, sweet and sour flaky nuts.
No, it's not a buffet. Just some of the many unsightly and uncomfortable sexually transmitted diseases prevalent in today's permissive culture.
Indeed, even women who've been unstintingly faithful throughout their long-term relationship with their partner and colleague have been known to catch a dose of gusset mange, and from goodness only knows where. It's curious how that happens, isn't it, Jeb?
Because, of course, with pleasure comes peril, and here to highlight some of those perils, we have our resident medical expert, Dr. Agnes Fluffer.
Hello. One of the most hideously awful and disgustingly ghastly things one might find in one's husband's underpants are genital warts. Also known as bobbly knob or trouser bunions, this unsightly affliction is not only a source of great discomfort for the infected party, but it is also really quite revoltingly vile to look at. I once saw a baboon with leprosy of the fundament, something I found far less disagreeable than the sight of pustulous boils growing from my husband's old soldier. Treatment can be affected by hard stares, stony silence, and insisting on separate bedrooms, although I would personally recommend the taking of a lover whom you flagrantly parade throughout your social set, thereby reducing your spouse to a miserable cuckold and laughingstock. You fetid little runt!
Excellent advice, don't you think, Jeb? And now Shania Rayburn is going to take us under her matronly bosom over in the phone lounge.
Thank you, Joe. You are very kind to my bosom, I think.
Well, it is huge.
And fully dirigible too, yeah? Now, hello! On line 1, I have Brenda from Upside of the Mercy. Hello, Brenda.
It's Battle.
And what is your crisis today, please?
Well, it's me husband Teddy, you see, because when we're doing the
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
the intimate,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
shagging. Well, he's like a proper old jackrabbit.
Oh, what a wonderful thing. The bunny is beautiful, is it not? You see, with its little fluffy ass bumping up and down, bouncing away. I see it, yeah? Why is this so bad?
Oh no, I don't mind that. I've got me knitting. Thing is, he's taken to videoing it and selling tapes to blokes down the bowling club.
Ah, I see. He is pornographer now, yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah, well, you must be strong, Brenda. You must be telling him no more.
I have done.
Let me finish, please, just quickly.
That's what he says.
What you must do, Brenda, darling, is go away, far away. Leave this poor Raymond Bunny Rabbit, yeah? Do no more the penis. No more of the penis. I think for you, Brenda, what you need is a large, unattractive woman. Perhaps who makes pottery, yeah? You will see. Not so much the knitting with that on your smutsucken call, yeah?
Does that help at all, Beryl?
No, not really.
Oh, well, feck off then, ungrateful knitting woman.
OK, thanks for that, Shania. And more from her later. Coming up, sex with strangers. What are the risks and how much does it cost? Jeb?
Before that, though, think about dressing up.
Going to town with no knickers on.
Cutting a hole in your trouser pocket so you can stroke your knackers on the bus.
All harmless games people like to play to spice up their dreary little lives.
But sometimes fun can turn to fetish, and healthy curiosity can degenerate into morally reprehensible poo-eating and filth.
We sent dangerous Doug Postlethwaite to explore the seedy back passage of eroticism.
You may be loitering under the misapprehension that them dirty buggers you sometimes catch late night on Channel 4 with their whips and rubber clubber are just a bunch of Johnny foreigners with no better to do than fanny about in each other's excrement whilst waiting for the civilised world to catch 'em up and instil a bit of common bloody decency. Well, you'd be wrong, and I know, 'cause I've had all my illusions shattered by coming to this filthy hole, what calls itself Madam Spank's Chamber of Pain, right here in decent, God-fearing Pontefract, of all bloody places. Right, this is the so-called dungeon, and yon prating rubber frogman's gear with his ass hanging out's a bloody barrister, apparently. Married, with a couple of kiddies, he tells me. Nice house, fancy car, what I wouldn't bloody give here. So why does he do it, the daft bugger? Madam Spank, can you shed some light?
Well, the fundamental incentive amongst my clientele is the requirement to channel some of the vocational stress inherent in positions of seniority and the incumbent responsibility of professional accountability into a psychosexual conduit, dissipating the negative nuclei of the singular masculine id into the pluralistic ego ideal, which is essential for successful reorientation as perhaps a family man or a husband, a lover.
Will you smack his bottom?
In literal terms, perhaps, but psychologically it's merely a metaphor.
The beating of dust from a carpet.
Perhaps, or a kneading action softening the clay of the burdened psyche.
I thought walls for people like him.
Perhaps a quick spunting would help you relax.
Now then, they do say that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, but medically speaking, the way to a man's stomach is through his mouth. So is oral sex the key to everlasting love, or just a boon for the breath freshener industry?
We'll be throwing that up to our panel of sexperts in just a few moments.
Because, of course, we live in a liberal-minded democracy where healthy sexual relationships are accepted as the norm.
And indeed, the questionable practices of many morally bankrupt minority groups regularly escape prosecution.
But are we, as a society, as broad-minded as we like to think we are?
Let's get a balanced view now as we discuss the moral state of the nation with our panel of bigots and perverts.
Joining us on screen, we have Moira Funbags, a self-confessed nymphomaniac, Gladys Highhorse, a social activist, vicar and homosexual, the Reverend Raymond Bathhouse, and a pornographic movie actor calling himself Mr. Fister. Starting with you, Mr. Fister, is what you do actually medically possible?
Oh, yes, it's perfectly viable given sufficient lubrication.
And I'd imagine in terms of your audience, it's quite a niche market. Is there a large opening for this sort of thing?
Oh, it's helpful, but not essential.
Now, Gladys, you're an ugly virgin spinster. Can we assume that you've not come across this activity?
Well, I'm aware of it, of course, in theory, and I find it all rather hideous and unthinkable.
So you don't approve?
Of course I don't. If you'll excuse me, Reverend, but a woman's precious portions are holy, deeply holy.
And a man's?
They're sort of sticky-outy with lumps on.
Now, Reverend, how do you reconcile pillow biting with Bible bashing?
Well, it's not necessary to reconcile religious observance with my sexuality. I'm a homosexual, but I'm a celibate homosexual.
That's an oxymoron, isn't it?
Well, you'd know.
And my position has been deemed tenable by the church primate.
What, by a monkey?
Moira, if we can move on to you, you claim to have had sex with over 3,000 men. Is that right?
'Tis chalk.
So really, when you call yourself a nymphomaniac, what you actually mean is slag. Is that a fair comment?
Aye. You see, this is typical of the degeneracy that seems to be creeping through our society. Just today, I saw a young woman on the street, in plain sight of everyone, quite nonchalantly fondling a man's bottom. And I wonder to myself, do these people have no self-respect, or respect for the sensitivities of those around them? Not in a million years would I be prepared to fondle a man's bottom, in public or anywhere else.
And what about a woman's bottom?
Well, perhaps under duress.
And what if she wasn't wearing one?
Clearly, opinions are divided, something which seems to be reflected in the plethora of calls, emails and texts we've been receiving throughout the show.
That's right. So let's get an earful of your comments.
Arabella from Hampshire called to say this.
I do think these people who just, stumble from one relationship to another are missing out on something truly beautiful. It's like, I've only ever had one lover my entire life. We met when I was very young, and the companionship and friendship we've enjoyed has seen us over many, many hurdles.
That's a lovely story, Arabella. Thank you for that. And she goes on to say,
It's really, really sad because our relationship did come to an end when my partner strained a fetlock and had to be put down. But I'm looking forward to getting back in the saddle with my new boyfriend just as soon as he's been shod.
Cyril from Dulwich has emailed and asks, why oh why do women mither on about their erogenous zones? Let's face it, if there's a couple of songs you don't like on your favourite LP, you just skip over them. Who wants to sit through all that dirge? An excellent point, thank you, Cyril.
Someone just called Jay from Lancashire says, I'm bi-curious. Do you know any swinging couples who might be willing to indulge a major television personality without blabbing to the papers?
That's enough, we'll just leave it.
Do please keep your calls coming in, though. It's a premium rate line and we're saving up for a swimming pool.
And if you'd like to share your thoughts via Twitter, you can tweet us at TPMighty, bearing in mind, of course, that we're not at all interested. Now, life, as they say, ain't like the movies, and if you do happen to be doing the old bump and grind, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're having any fun.
You might be married, for example.
You might be drunk or stoned or anaesthetised.
Or you might be trying to start a family.
We sent dangerous Doug Postlethwaite, fresh from his reveries at the hands of Madam Spank, to a maternity unit near Wakefield to experience some of the pleasure and pain of childbirth.
No, I ain't had no kiddies, 'cause I can't stand the noisy little buggers. But there's a lot of folk what seem impervious to the misery of having some squalling brat hanging off the tit. And this is where they end up. And a right jump it is too. National Health Service. National bloody disgrace, more like. Right, this is Sharon, who's 9 months gone and due to pop right in the middle of the rugby. But I've asked my neighbour to video it so there's something to be salvaged from the old sorry mess. Sharon, I can't help but notice that your husband ain't here yet. He's stuck in traffic, is he?
I ain't married.
What the hell are you doing having a baby then?
But me boyfriend forgot to put a Johnny on.
Well, you've a boyfriend then.
Oh no, he ran off with me, mum.
Well, you're having a baby.
I bloody no.
That's disgraceful. You should be bloody well ashamed of yourself, girl. And what's that? What smells so bad?
It's perfectly natural to pass a little faeces at this stage.
What? She's shot herself.
I don't care.
Well, you bloody well should care, young lady. You're a mess. I ain't shot myself since I drank a yard of rum on my wedding night. What the buggery hell is that thing?
That's baby's head.
Oh, crap, that's huge. You're a natural girl. Right, after a fair old while of squeezing and shoving, they've managed to chuck me out. And I can't say I'm sorry, 'cause that were bloody horrible. However, I'm obliged to tell you that yon lass had a baby girl and has seen fit to call it Miley. What is a damn stupid name, and that's it. You can turn your bloody camera off now, I'm done. And who's had me ciggies? There's no bloody sacred these days.
And don't forget, coming up later this evening, there's a compassionate exploration of the social and financial difficulties facing people living with deformity and obesity. That's massive wobbled-assed freaks on benefits just after the news.
And that's followed at 11 by Oobaloo Hubbabub, a Dutch animation about a potato and a piece of string. Don't miss it. And we'll be back after these messages.
That went quite well.
Can we have a look at the bearded child yet?
Not ready.
Yeah.
It's not a freak show.
It's a kid with a beard. What's not freaky about that?